Welcome back everybody to Anbennar in general, but more specifically welcome back to Arg-Ordston. And the reason I say welcome back is because this is the second part to the Arg-Ordston playthrough. If you haven't watched the first part and you're looking at that and like it's 50 minutes long, I get that, so don't worry, I'm gonna break down everything that's going on here. First of all, I hope you're familiar with Anbennar as a mod. Imagine you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, but like it's a lot more complicated. A whole bunch of geopolitical entities sort of have their own interests for things that they want to do. There is much more lore than we actually have time to cover today, so the important stuff you have to know is that we're playing as dwarves, of course. We're in this giant mountain range called the Serpent Spine. It includes this, well, general green area and up around here. There used to be a super advanced empire of dwarves called Hul-Jorkad. Big things happened over in this place. Wow, that's a conveniently placed circle, but apparently it was bad enough that like the Dwarven Empire fell. So Dwarf Empire collapsed. We went into this hold over here as the Diamond Dwarves, shut ourselves in, waited a few thousand years, and over the past 100 or so years, we've been reclaiming our area of the Serpent Spine known as the Serpent Reach. Hopefully you got all that because it will be on the test. Last time we left off with what was conveniently a final mission that eventually turned into more missions, and this was sort of us proclaiming our ambition to become the hegemons of Serpent Spine. There's no High King to stop us, there's no Cronium dwarves to keep us contained to the Serpent Reach. The whole thing is ours for the taking. Also, as dwarves, we just have a couple of innate bonuses and malices. You can pause to read each of those if you really want to. So all that being said, our current objective is going to be expanding into this area and absolutely roasting Rubyhold. I've been told in the comments of the last video that apparently this hatred of Rubyhold is like purely delusional. Maybe I've been lied to, I don't know. Maybe that was secretly someone from Rubyhold in my comments section. Either way, in order to finish off this mission, we do have to cast spells. Because of course, it's a D&D themed mod, you can't expect magic without being able to use the magic. So one very expensive, magnificent feast later, considering how unhinged the rant for this mission description is. I'm willing to believe, actually, that maybe it's all a delusion. Although, completing the mission does remove slandered merchants, so like, maybe it's not a complete delusion, who knows? I'm pretty sure to complete the second half of this mission, we're only going to have to go over here and like press one button. I think this should do it. We'll pick up this guy, and that should do it. This mission is apparently all about diversifying the economy. Like, yeah, you can sell gems, but, you know, maybe you need a little more than gems to survive as a country. Maybe, who knows? We get a base tax in every hold province in Serpent Reach, all the ones we have in here. To finish this one off, we're going to have to do quite a bit of developing just because I need a lot more crown land. I haven't shown it off yet because I don't think it's something that you have to be too concerned about, really. But we are getting close to making too much money. And I don't mean that in a cheeky way like, oh, we're just so strong, haha. Like, no, it's actually kind of a problem. Once we reach a monthly income of 150 crowns per month, we start to get a disaster. Like a really bad one. I've been advised that I should stock up, what was it, like 10,000 crowns or something before I actually fire the disaster. Otherwise, like, it's gonna be tough. We've also been improving relations with people in the Empire of Anbennar because we have another mission over here. I just need the Emperor to have a little bit more of an opinion. So we're gonna send them a gift, which will allow us to complete this mission. We gain 5 mercantilism, an extra diplomat, and trade steering for 20 years. And the lore behind this is basically gems have become cheap enough that you can just slap them on things, make a bunch of like really sparkly stuff, and people like that, so there you go. Since we're so close to getting 40% crown land anyway, I'm just gonna finish by developing a little bit of tax. That will allow us to expand our operations. This will give 5 random caverns, an additional base production, and the expanding operations modifier. So the solution to having an economy that's basically focused on one thing is to focus even harder on it. Because the price of diamonds keeps falling, we can't really afford to restrict production, and we have people who need to work, so instead we're gonna put them on everything. Diamond swords, diamond armor, diamond pickaxes, which can be enchanted to break through obsidian itself. Where have I heard that one before? And it seems in order to finish off this mission, we're kind of hard stuck. We do need to go through the hoardcurse, which is lovely, I guess. And we are dangerously close to having a bit too much money, so I'm gonna hold off a little bit, just start stockpiling. Looks like the expedition is back, 355 crowns, 118 of each power point, which is pretty close to putting us over the amount we can actually have, but not quite. And you know what? I think I am going to sell those titles, actually. But also, of course, we're just gonna hoard money, make sure that we have enough for the coming storm. In fact, instead of spending money getting the institution, I think I'm willing to just take this extra 15% cost. Besides, it doesn't make it that much more expensive anyway. Interesting event, bit of a characterization of how things are perceived in our country right now. For people who didn't watch the first video, expeditions are basically send people out to look for mostly old dwarven stuff, but not always. Just gotta throw a few points into this, make sure that the estimated loot is usually higher than what you're giving the party, so it's not worth a lot. I'll raise this share by like a little bit. And you might have noticed already, but oops, a hoard curse. Yeah, we're making just barely too much money, probably a consequence of me converting things, but that's cool, that's great. So that's gonna fire in about 2 years. I'm gonna keep on getting as much money as possible and preparing for that. What is this? Ancient unreadable text. A group of miners came across some ancient runic tablet. I have to pick what it says. Do I look like an archaeologist to you? I don't know. Go with Artificery. That sounds like it'd be Dwarven or something. Oh, okay. Thanks, I guess. I don't know how large of an army I'm going to need for this, but I think increasing it is not going to hurt at all. Okay, very quickly, I'm also just going to exploit a little bit of money. Get as much as we can before this thing fires. But wow, isn't that convenient? Gold rush, thank you. The Horde Cursed of Arg-Ordston. Corruption and greed dominate our country. Within our holds, every bank, every business, every dwarf is plagued by this evil. Unable to perceive the world other than through money, it would seem that a vice has hidden itself in plain sight, is now spreading across the country like rust through a sword. So if we want to address the situation, we will have to complete multiple reforms and restructure how we manage our wealth. We need the modifier corrupt government reforms, bank reforms, curtail the horde cursed barons, monopoly reforms, and workers reform. And in the meantime, everything kind of sucks. Huge national unrest, 75% penalty to trade efficiency and national tax. Nothing for production though, which is nice. 75% more expensive advisors. My god, okay. This is gonna be interesting. So to pass these reforms, we just have to press these buttons, I guess. We need to enact certain reforms, okay. So if I have to guess, each of these is probably going to correspond with one of the penalties that we have. So in theory, if I crack down on corrupt officials, then maybe it'll get rid of the corruption we get every year, which would be a nice start. The economy is already in the gutter. That's lovely. It's not even gonna be worth it to root out corruption. Who cares? I think we're gonna try and maintain a positive balance. I'm assuming there are going to be events that we're going to have to pay off, so let's stick to that. And yeah, let's start by getting rid of some corruption if possible. Oh yeah, that's expensive. So I'm assuming we could spend stability to make this go faster, maybe? Meticulous inspections, arrest on proof, kill on suspicion. This seems like it would take the longest. This seems like it would be the medium length, and this seems like it's pretty much instant. We suspect you of corruption, now die. Considering corruption's probably gonna be the biggest hit to our economy right now, I think it's worth it. Just get him out of there. The Arg-Ordston incident. So we can pay money, quite a few crowns there, or 3 stability. Okay, I think I have an idea of what I'm gonna do. I also have a little too much Diplo, so I might just throw that into getting mercantilism, or actually, I should invest that in production, because that's the one thing that we are not losing money on right now. Okay, corrupt officials removed. That's a lot of money. Must have spent at least 2,000 just to get that one thing done. And of course, now we have to have laws and corruption reform. Lose 15 corruption. Okay, now you're speaking my language. In fact, funny thing about that is, I think I'm just gonna like debase a bunch of currency. We get 10 corruption from that, but hey, if we're gonna lose 15, I might as well take it. It's quite a bit of money. We can use that to help other things, right? So we bring ourselves to about, you know, just around 14 corruption, or maybe 15. That's not a big deal at all. You know, on second thought, I'm getting so much corruption, I should probably just finish that. Tax income is also back up. Importantly, our advisors also do not cost nearly as much anymore. Next, I think we're going to want to fix our trade efficiency, and if I had to guess, that's gonna have to do with the monopolies. Oh boy, do we seriously have to deal with every single monopoly? Well, I think at this point, textiles theoretically make up the majority of the economy. Okay, that's hefty. That's expensive. This is nice though. 15% advisor cost decrease. Dirt cheap advisors, to be honest. At the very least, it doesn't seem like we actually need to fight people all that much. We get the occasional rebel rebels stack, but honestly I should just like do this. Reduce the progress of all rebels by 30, gain a stability, gain a bunch of loyalty. The rebels can't legally revolt if we say no. To counteract the issues that we're having with inflation from this disaster, I'm gonna go ahead and grab Lapidary Guild's bookkeeping. We're gonna use that to make it a little bit cheaper to reduce inflation since the Hoard Curse is increasing it by 50%. That's another monopoly. People don't like the fact that I'm getting rid of their monopolies, but that's too bad. And for the last monopoly, although we don't exactly have the money to pay for this, so I'm just gonna take a little bit out. I'm sure people won't mind that much. Oh, in fact, perfect timing. The expedition is back. So that's 600 ducats and 200 of each power point. Now we can pay this. Oh, but I can't because it's the Hoard Curse. Of course. No, that makes sense. That's great. I'll just let that expire. That would be a great diet to pick. Thank you. Let's bump this up a little bit. Easy money. We can use that to finish this. So if we pay another 1.3 thousand crowns and 150 admin, we can get our trade efficiency back. I guess that's a worthwhile deal. Expensive, but probably worth it. Only 2 loans. It's not even that bad if you think about it. We'll go after the banks next. Force them to collect debt or nationalize them. You know what? I think it's easier for us to just grab stability. Oh boy. So the pressure we put on our banks to ensure that they quickly collect their dues has been passed on to all their contractors. As we could have foretold, our citizens are vastly overprotective of their gold, have risen up in arms. Not because they cannot pay, but because they simply do not want to. Oh, we're having a great time. So, yeah, that's really bad. 3 stability or almost 8,000 crowns. That's like almost a crippling amount of debt. Like, that's a lot. Like, we can have up to 29 loans, but currently, because of the Hoard Curse, interest is 11.5% per annum. These loans are downright predatory at this point. However, I think because we're dealing with the banks, this is specifically the thing that we're going to fix. But I think it's gonna ultimately end up fixing, hopefully at least the interest. But yeah, that is really painful. 78 crowns per month in interest. Great times. Good stuff happening here. Okay, banks are in good health. That's good. That's good stuff. That means I have to pay more money, right? Oh yeah, you bet. Lose 10 inflation though, that's nice. See, we lose all of our interest per annum. Well, not all of it, but a manageable amount. Losing inflation is nice, although it makes me kind of wish that I'd never actually done it myself, but hindsight's always 20/20, I guess. So now we can actually take out more loans to be able to pay off the rest of these. And this one says the more reforms we've already taken, then the less this will cost us, and the higher our chance of success. So we might as well go for workers, not slaves. Oh boy, focus on fair pay or focus on working hours. The choice will have permanent consequences. Well, I don't know what the consequences are, so for me it's basically a coin flip. Let's focus on fair pay. Let's go ahead and sell some titles, take some of that crown land back. Oh no. I kind of don't like this one. 20% production efficiency for 20% tax. Clearly I took the wrong option because that kind of sucks. Not even by a little bit, like this is terrible, but okay, I guess. We can also pick up another reform and that's cool, I guess. Although I'm not sure we necessarily want to empower the lapidary guilds. I might just go with this instead. I had a small heart attack for a second only to realize that that says 1,612.008, not a million ducats. But we've abolished slave contracts, and that's nice. Although I'm assuming I'm going to have to pay more. Yup, ban indentured worker contracts. Lovely. And finally, we need to go after the Horde-cursed barons. I assume this would have been possible from the start, but probably would have been harder if you just went after it. The more limits we impose on the populace, the faster we obtain our results. So I could launch the legislation. Oh, I see. Maybe I don't see. I don't know. It's just like, that's a lot of loans we have to take out, and I really don't want to take them. Like, we are already 14,500 in debt. The interest is piling up. I don't like it. We just have to keep on spending money. This is great. So I'm gonna see what happens if I press this one. I see. Okay, so launch legislation is after we do all of this, I think. So let's also press this one. And then finally, we launch the legislation. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna take out one more loan actually, because this should help the economy a little bit if I embrace the institution. And then if I pick up all of these techs. In playing as dwarves, we have a pretty unique playstyle. One that I think is more gonna lend itself to, you know, eventually religious ideas. I don't think we have to pick that right now. Admin ideas would be great. Infrastructure ideas would also be pretty decent. And although I haven't taken economic ideas in a long time, ever since they changed them, I wouldn't exactly be opposed to it. Trade as well, actually. Especially trade, because if we own the entire Serpent Spine, we're simply not going to have enough merchants to direct all of the trade in the Serpent Spine towards the end node in option here. So eventually, yes. Right now, no. I'll just go with infrastructure. The Great Reform is a success. We managed to do the impossible and separated not only one dwarf from one coin, but many dwarves from many coins. So we get some prestige, we get 50 admin, and we lose that minimum autonomy, which has been tanking our economy. And in fact, because we have finished everything in the Horde curse, we're now done. Gain 3 stability. Oh, interesting. Okay. Now I kind of wish I didn't spend all that on stability, but it was free, so it's not that bad. An extra 25 prestige, and for the next 100 years, unless we go bankrupt, which we won't because we don't have to, we lose national unrest, we get cheaper development costs, a bit of free inflation reduction, and 50% innovativeness gain, which is enormous. Now, we didn't make it out of that unscathed. We are in a little bit of debt, to say the least. A couple small loans, you could say. But that's okay, because I'm going to solve that by taking out even more loans. We're going to take some debt from the lapidary guilds. They're going to have some cheaper loans for us. Oh, actually, I remember this now. It's all coming back to me. So what we need to do is build the first level, and then we come back. It changes it to fish? That sucks. Going from dyes to fish is a massive downgrade. But okay, that's fine, I guess. I really should get rid of that inflation, though, and it's pretty cheap to do that. This hold is also done and needs to be repaired, but we can decide what to do with it, and honestly, I think it's probably better if we just stack the trade efficiency. I'm also going to go ahead and pick up some construction costs from here, pick this up. So now we're working with about minus 35% construction cost, meaning we can build things that normally wouldn't exactly give us the most return. We do also need to build quite a couple of courthouses, some manufactories, of course. A couple of state houses would be kind of nice as well. And then with the remaining money, we can start paying off a couple of loans. But of course, just as I'm hoping to not spend that much money, suddenly 6 innovativeness is huge though, so I'm not that upset. Walking mushrooms. Okay, well, we could get rid of them, but I have a feeling that the bottom option is probably the ideal one. So, remember the mushrooms earlier? They may or may not be showing signs of intelligence, so that's cool. I guess we'll negotiate with the mushrooms. Also, we've just finished off infrastructure ideas, which is nice because it means we can grab this military policy. We also have another free policy here, so just, I guess, Diplo rep. Just finished developing ourselves to an empire rank. I think I've cut the debt almost in half. Aside from that, we do kind of have to wait anyway because of one mission over here. So I just have to wait for these ramparts to be done in about a year and a half, and then we can actually start conquering again. Okay, that actually worked. The mushrooms agreed. God, I love this mod so much. Some of our senior diplomats have objected to the idea of trying to speak to negotiate with the Fungrum, but in the end, they turned out to be wrong. After some awkward gestures, the Fungrum of Hazabur Quarry were able to somewhat understand our intent, and they even gave some of the stolen goods back. After nearly a week of back and forth, the negotiations resulted in a mutually beneficial agreement. Our settlers and the local Fungrum will coexist, and the state will protect them in exchange for a steady supply of food, which would turn out to be mushrooms. Many are now wondering why they would send us the mushrooms they previously so valiantly defended, and it appears they're actually not as smart as we thought they were. Such a weird little event chain, but that is funny. So the ramparts are done being built. I've gone ahead and reformed the military, adding a second army. We are also going to have to build a couple of men up here, just for that one mission, to get a little bit more knowledge on how the Serpent Spine, or rather how the Dwarven Empire ended up collapsing. It appears this hold here was actually critically important, which makes sense if you think about it, right? It is the connection to the outside, and it also divides the Serpent Spine in 2 pieces. If this hold falls and this area is occupied, then the entire eastern half of the empire is disconnected from the western half. Turns out, I guess there was a war between the precursor elves and the All-Dwarov. Right as the elves were about to be repulsed, orcs erupted from the depths, taking the fortress and permanently isolating each region of the High King's empire. So this is the place where everything fell. Finishing this mission gives us 20 years of morale damage and movement speed. We also get permanent claims. Technically, we could have started this war earlier, and yeah, you don't have to follow the mission trees, but I like to. Now, it does seem like these dwarves up to the north are kind of at war with somebody else. I'm thinking we have 2 options. We can either go north, which is preferred, or we can go south, which is just the easier option right now. Once this war is done, then we can just move on with our lives. With that being said, these guys over here actually don't have an army. Free conquest, I guess. It's just a shame that we can't actually take everything because we can't core this stuff over here, so we'll just take what we can. Seems to me like the war door in the north is done. So let's go after, what is this? Verkal-Kozanad. Looks like the objective is to take the hold and also do a little bit of developing, I guess. Might as well go ahead and pick up some more siege ability from our religion. And just because I can, I might as well take this. Well, we can't get military access to reach the guys in the north, so I guess we're just gonna have to sit here. Kinda wish that you didn't have to wait 5 years for an unconditional surrender, but I guess it is what it is. Alright, thank you for that. We're gonna take all of these provinces in the Dwarovkron, so we can start targeting these guys if we want to. We need to take the hold and this entire state, actually, and then the rest of it's kind of irrelevant. Sure, it's a bit of border gore, but I don't care, honestly. At least I can go ahead and sell some titles, take some crown land back, and get a little more from that conquest, or lose some, I guess. That's cool. I'm gonna use this money to pay off the 1% loans, because then I can take out larger 1% loans. And now we're all the way down to under 5,000 crowns in debt. We do also need to spend a little bit of money repairing this one hold, and I've been told that apparently the repair and construction time for holds is actually modified by our construction time modifier. So infrastructure ideas are actually not too bad for dwarves. Now that we're done stating all this stuff over here, of course we're gonna have to repair this hold, which will be rather expensive, but also we can reduce the autonomy by pressing this button over here. Of course, not by itself. We're gonna want to summon the diet. This will give us free points, we might as well. Then we'll pick some kind of parliament debate, and then we can press the button. For our tier 9 reform, we have what is pretty much just the dwarf equivalent to a better version of Machiavellianism. So we've pushed down south, we've cleaned up the hold a little bit, taken it over from the orcs. It seems though that the orcs didn't really seem to care enough to actually go down into the expedition. Not that there technically is one for them to go and explore, but just work with me here. We get a few perma claims, and we get another event. So these vaults apparently contain dangerous artifacts. Apparently, what happened to this hold is that a dragon appeared. According to the records, the dragon exuded some form of toxic miasma that drove anybody nearby completely mad, and many vaults were breached as the dragon attempted to make its way out. I never thought I'd see the day the Jad Empire absolutely crumbles, but apparently these guys are involved, so good for them. I mean, it's really not good for them because their armies are now not home where they need to be, but that's kind of too bad. It does seem also that they're allied to Elisna, actually. That could be kind of annoying. You know, I didn't expect them to just spawn another 40,000 troops, but that's mercenaries, I guess. Also, I'm kind of hoping that Elisna just wants to peace out at some point because their mandate is actually 0. There we go. I knew I could bait them into trying to siege their hold back. That'll be just enough for me to feel confident attacking them in the Dwarovkron. Oh, hello there. I forgot you had another army. I don't know what I'm doing. Well, I guess what I'm doing is winning, just not comfortably. Okay, let's get everyone back together. Oh my god, I forgot you actually exist. We'll just build another army, that's fine. Okay, our expedition down here into the Howling Pit. As we got closer and closer to the draconic miasma, fauna and flora had been mutated. The very darkness was reaching out and snatching their comrades with talons of shadow and malice. That's horrifying. Other people just turning to stone? Cool. That's great. Well, that sucks to be those guys, but hey, at the very least, at 500 crowns and 3 ancient dwarven knowledge, so I'm chilling. Looks like we're gonna have a great battle for the capital. They don't have a war wizard, but they do have a good general, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I was kind of hoping for a stack wipe, but I guess we can't have nice things. These guys really do like to hire mercenaries. I mean, it's fair, they are fighting a death war at this point, I would too. Just finished another expedition. Oh my god, I keep forgetting about you guys. Oh yeah, I don't even think I mentioned the fact that we are completely loan free and have been for quite a while. Also, to give credit where it's due, Segdir did put up a significantly better fight than I was expecting from them. You know, we walked in here when they had like 0 manpower and 30,000 men, and in the end, about 191,000 Segdir dwarves died. So, clearly they were hiding that manpower somewhere, but in the end, we get to take one of their main holds, not the main hold, but we'll get around to it. And I'm also going to break their alliances because, well, they're just kind of annoying. Although I don't think the Elisna alliance is going to be so bad. I'll take this stuff instead then. Now that Verkal-Kozanad has been restored, we finished this mission over here. We'll get a few perma claims, plus a permanent modifier on the Azma Quarry, which would be this province down here. So we did have a few options when it came to finishing this mission over here. I decided to go ahead and build the mills because the way I interpreted this is that I'm gonna lose 2,500 crowns and only gain like 3 mills for that. That would buy us like 9 mills outright. This isn't going to take away another 2,500 crowns. We do get another privilege for the lapidary guilds. I feel like maybe there would have been a way to make this a little bit clearer instead of this, but from what I can gather, this this means every province that produces gems is just going to get 15% additional trade value and 0.5 local goods produced, which is incredibly strong. And I have kind of been holding off on invading these guys because I felt like it just was the right thing to wait for this mission to be done. But now that we have our permaclaims, we might as well go ahead and invade them. While I'm here, actually, I might as well just clean up this tag. There we go. That was like less than a month. In fact, literally less than a month. I can't even send them another diplomat yet. This would be a perfect opportunity. Their ally is unwilling to help them. They are currently at war, although with a couple of inconsequential enemies, and I think we could probably take them on. I was kind of hoping that maybe they would colonize this so that, like, you know, it wouldn't kind of look ugly, but it is what it is. Fortunately, my favorite parliament issue just dropped. Totally not at all overpowered. I don't know what you're talking about. I added a couple more seats to the parliament, so we should get even more manpower out of that. Oh, hello there. Not a battle we really want to be in, so we're gonna leave that, actually. Now, the objective for today's war is, of course, going to be seizing this hold here in Ernathvir. That's not the only thing, though, because, of course, remember, when you siege a hold, it deals damage, and they are in possession of, I believe that makes 8 holds in total. So what we really should do is try to siege down all of them. Even if they're not terribly expensive to fix, they will take some time. That's 1 hold down. You might notice, actually, that these ones on the side are all 3 development and 999 to develop. See, that's the fun thing about these orcs here, is that they have one enormous province in the center that they call the trophy pile, and, you know, as the modifier suggests, they're here to plunder, not build. So they were kind of doomed from the start. They have no real ability to, like, develop any holds. They can still develop, you know, the caverns and the Dwarovrods, just not holds, which is a huge penalty. And once we take their capital, they're kind of cooked. There's not really much else they can do. Of course, I say their capital when I really mean the rightful territory of the successor to the Dwarven Empire, naturally. In other words, our capital. Now that Amaldir's been taken, our enemy's income is nearly nothing. Another cool thing about the Serpent Spine is that this stuff in the middle is actually still connected to the outside as well. So we're gonna send these guys in here. They're gonna teleport straight over to this hold so they can start sieging it. Now, with this peace deal, I might be overstepping the bounds of the next mission tree a little bit, but first of all, it makes the borders look nice, and second of all, for a mission called Ascend to the Throne, you'd really think that they'd want us to take, you know, the throne, which is this area. So I think it's still thematically appropriate. Plus, the age is gonna end pretty soon, and when it does, we're gonna lose our 25% war score cost reduction, so I might as well just take pretty much everything I can right now, including those 63 ducats, which I am petty enough to grab. Thank you. Here's the trophy pile. In theory, we get a whole bunch of money out of it, I think. Yeah, it didn't tell us how much, but I definitely heard the money sound, and I think we increase our treasuries. And now that we're at peace, we should also probably repair this 1 hold that's necessary for a mission. Might as well take the opportunity to seize a bit of crown land, considering we're about to get absolutism soon. Now that we have admin tech 16, which we actually got quite a while ago, we can start to rebuild the old Dwarovar rail, because of course there was a railway connecting the entirety of the mountain. The whole thing is practically one gigantic mineshaft. And I mean, look at this. It's 15 ducats per province. That's pretty cheap. Continuing with our theme of holding a really weirdly petty grudge with Rubyhold, we've improved relations with some of the countries in the general area, and the plan is basically economic warfare. We're just gonna undercut them with their closest of trading partners. Again, not actually sure how real the Rubyhold grudge is. I still think this is probably all in the heads of the Diamond Dwarves and has no basis in reality, but it's still very funny. Now, considering I had to spend a pretty decent amount of money to actually get enough countries to qualify, I'm not gonna try to get any more. I don't know what the Rubyhold event actually does, but we get 250 ducats. Oh, okay, we actually get to see. Nice. That is an insane debuff. Not that Rubyhold really had much power outside of the Bay of Wines anyway, but we can see that they just get a flat 50 reduction. It's so petty for no reason. If you're wondering what the Dwarovar rails actually do, it's about the development cost, but also it's faster to move troops around, which I always appreciate. Love a good road or rail system in my modded EU4. Also reduces the province governing cost by 50% and increases the institution spread. Might as well embrace the institution since we should have grabbed it a while ago. Right on time, we move into the Age of Witch King. If you're wondering what this insane looking image at the top is, this would be if you played as, I believe, Iron Scepter and form the Black Domain. I think technically you can form the Black Domain as anybody. It's sort of like an idea more than a country specifically. I don't think Iron Scepter's still alive, but if they were, they would be like somewhere over here. Anyway, yeah, this is like if you become Turbo Evil Necromancer that does absolutely insane kind of wide gameplay. And I think the endpoint is literally supposed to be a world conquest or something. Anyway, cool country. We should check that one out too. So we finished off off the final part of the expedition over here. Seems like we found some ancient Dwarven knowledge, so let's check that out. We could convert the 1 ancient Dwarven knowledge to 15 government reform progress. Absolutely not. Let's store it to improve our holds, why not? Now, when it comes to dealing with Sagdir, in theory, we could just wait out the truce and go to war once again. It worked the first time, but it seems like we're presented an option, even though, yes, we do need to take one of their holds. If they're not too upset about that, we can just send them a gift. So our prestige is higher, our army is obviously much stronger. Those are 2 of the prerequisites. We also need to either viciously mock them or use our great power influence and send them a gift. We might as well be nice just to see if maybe they'll peacefully submit. I would like that. So we can influence them for quite a large amount of money, and then we can send them a gift. Sorry about taking your hold, now please submit. Quick pause if you want to read this lore. So we send them an ultimatum, submit or die. Wrong choice. Oh well, can't say we didn't try. Reading the lore behind this mission kinda makes it seem like Ernatvir is actually the throne of the empire, but I still don't think it was the capital. It was just like the economic hub because it was called the rail yard. Not unusual, a lot of places have cities that are more economically productive than the capital. This does give us a few more claims on the Dwarovkron areas, Serpent Vale, which is the area surrounding here, and of course Amaldir, which we have already taken. Also, fun fact, now that these guys have been released from like some other war here, I did play as these guys for a video if you want to go ahead and watch it. Well, we're not really doing all too much, might as well clean up this tag over here as well. It's a bit of an unusual choice, but I think I'm gonna go with the holds actually, especially since I do need to dig the capital hold another time and we're only at 20% and it's gonna take like a really long time. As the truce with Sagdir is now up, we might as well go ahead and use our subjugation CB. Anyway, this means we can fully go ahead and vassalize Sagdir. Once we integrate them, we'll get their Dwarovkron fragments as well. Or I guess we just get to have the gems right now. A little bit of trade efficiency, a bit of yearly legitimacy. That's nice. We finally got enough trading in gems to actually get the bonus. That's necessary for this mission over here, and also this one, which has been gatekeeping this one and this one, which we both could pretty much complete whenever we want to. Of course, the logical conclusion to our weird grudge with Rubyhold is that we're basically just gonna form a monopoly by undercutting them so hard that they pretty much go out of business. And also by making sure everyone we trade with has to put an embargo on gems from Rubyhold. We basically just do extreme anti-competitive practices. My favorite. Domineering monopoly is right. So now Rubyhold gets a permanent -2 local goods produced modifier and -50% trade power. Now we do get another privilege that's going to require a little bit of crown land and a bit of absolutism, which isn't really the end of the world considering the playstyle that we have anyway. But we get global trade power, an extra merchant, and 20% production efficiency on what I can only assume is every gem province. Seems the dwarves have a long-standing practice, especially the diamond dwarves, of creating a type of armor that's supposed to direct light into the enemy's eyes. This has some basis in real life as well. There are some armors which said to have this kind of effect, but in reality, you know, it's kind of impossible to make that work reliably. However, suspend your disbelief. This is Anbennar, so of course we're going to inscribe some runes into the armor and make sure that the diamonds actually do go and blind our enemies in the battlefield. So for the rest of the game, we get -5% fire damage received and +10% morale damage, which is pretty fitting, I'd say. For this next mission, the whole goal was pretty much studying the Aegis. Really fancy, made by the ancient dwarves back when they had like incredible technology. And boy, they were not joking about that inward perfection. -2 of each category of point. It kinda sucks, but hopefully that just means we'll get something incredible by the end of it. As for the Dwarovkron itself, we actually still don't have it, like the actual crown. Currently, Crack Doomvror has it, so I guess we're gonna have to go and grab it. Oh, you're right, we're also missing another gem, which is actually in the hands of Irellan. Forgot about that. Those are the harpies down here. I played them for a couple of streams. Interesting mission tree, although that would actually be one of the ones I would sort of recommend less. It's not terrible, it just feels like it has a weird play style that I don't really like. Just gonna grab their capital. I think I might be able to take the gem then, and if I can't, then I guess we'll have to go into the ancient forest, even though I usually prefer not to take any of these provinces that much. With the capital taken, we will take this general area over here. Not gonna take anything that has to do with the deep woods, because I really don't care that much. We do need to make sure to claim the Dwarovkron fragment. We can't just take their capital, and then everything else doesn't really matter that much. There we go. Now, the reason I did that is because that province, their capital rather, is actually kind of useful for us. We can, if we feel like it, build a great dam there for the low cost of 12,500 crowns. And in fact, I'm still not sure what this does. I don't think I've ever built it, but maybe I will today, who knows. Anyway, Crack Doomvror really shouldn't be that tough of a fight. It's really literally just them and Marhold. Ooh, they've been building up this hold for a while, and yet they still didn't put a fort on it. Rookie mistake. Fake dwarves, actually. Real dwarf enjoyers know that you would never start developing a hold before putting a fort on it. Not even a capital fort. 90 development and you're digging instead of building a fort. Anyway, take a look at this. We have a unique Tier 10 reform. One king under the mountain. Yearly absolutism and diplomatic annexation costs. After we integrate Segdir, we might as well change it to something else, but this is fine for now. Now, I'm not entirely sure, but I think the mission tree kind of implied that we were supposed to at some point take trade ideas, and although we don't really need them, I think it would be nice to have them anyway, so I'll go ahead and pick them up. Turns out the Aegis, remember that that diamond gem that goes into the crown, has a unique ability to draw all light towards itself and then reflect it out in some weird pattern. A pattern which causes multiple people to just like straight up die or become brain dead. So we lose 2 stability. Our main guy, our natural scientist up here, just completely dies. That's cool. But we do get 9 innovativeness. We learned a few things. Our hold is being invaded by somebody else, which is good for us. Pretty convenient considering we have literally no path to get into them. And I'm not going to build the tunnel just for that. So of course, now discovering that the Aegis is kinda wacky and has this weird ability to sort of warp reality in a sense. Naturally, as dwarves, we're gonna figure out how we can use it to mine better, because why not? So every province with latent coal gets nascent industrialization for 15% local goods produced modifier, and we get some kind of event. So of course, the first place we decide to test it on is some random hold that we don't care that much about. In 4 to 5 years, we will figure out what this thing can really do. We are pretty much done with the war in the north. Our first objective, of course, is to reclaim the actual crown. That's necessary for a mission. Second of all, I would like to take our claims that we have over here, and as a tertiary objective, I'd like to grab this hold. We can't take everything, but it's close enough. I'm not complaining. In fact, I might even just want to cut them off right there. Yeah, that'll do it. So we've retrieved the crown itself. We have the gemless Dwarovkron. That was necessary for this mission over here. We're still going to have to develop the capital a little bit more. But fortunately, we are 85% done the next dig level, which will make this a little bit cheaper. Oh, it seems we missed a mission here. We need to viciously mock Rubyhold. Yeah, sure, why not? In this mission, we get quite a bit of context surrounding the fall of Al-Dwarov. In the War of the Bloody Gem, we led a coalition of holds into rebellion against Amaldir. It says that the entrance of Rubyhold into Al-Dwarov permanently severed the bonds between the dwarves, but it seems like it was actually kind of our fault a little bit. Like, sure, Rubyhold was invited into Al-Dwarov, but was that really necessary to start a civil war over that? It certainly doesn't seem like it would be Rubyhold's fault for being invited into Al-Dwarov. If anything, it would be more like the High King's fault and not really Rubyhold's fault, but whatever. Ooh, this event actually matters? Okay, I was expecting a little bit of lore, but no, this one's really important. The whole debate around whether or not we should even care about the Ruby Gem. If we say yes, the nobility are upset, we get a couple of noble rebels in the capital, which isn't really that bad. And if we decide to destroy the Bloody Gem, we get locked out of forming Al-Dwarov. And I kind of wanted to form Al-Dwarov, so I don't think we're going to destroy it, but it is interesting to consider. And sure, we might have spent a really long time kind of messing with them, to the point where their economy has, well, at least lore-wise, kind of collapsed due to our direct influence. But that just means it'll be easier to control them, so why not? There's your lore reason. Headcanon invented. I think that's a few more noble rebels than they said would rise up. Looks like all the stuff we conquered actually has 0 overextension to it, probably because all of this stuff was, you know, colonized at some point by somebody. So it actually wouldn't be very difficult for us to just declare war on this guy, clean up the rest of the stuff we need to take from them, including this hold. So this has to do with an event that I kind of just passed, but considering it has a follow-up event, oh no, I think I know what this is. Oh, never mind, that isn't actually what I thought it was. It's the Goblin Tide. Another disaster that I may or may not have actually just glossed over without realizing. Okay, so it kind of tanks the economy a little bit, completely nullifies our global settler increase. Actually, it doesn't just nullify, I think it actively decreases the settlers. That's cool. Never hear anybody actually mention the Goblin Tide, which makes me think that it's probably not actually that bad. Okay, that complicates things a little bit. Goblin Tide is certainly happening. Just a reminder that, of course, you're gonna have goblins deep underground that'll eventually rise up. Surely you wouldn't think that just taking the old Dwarven stuff would be enough to pacify the mountains. So we have to place our army on these provinces, which might be hard to keep track of. But these ones here, gotta put our army on them, and that will allow us to actually close the gates. Fortunately, our war over here is pretty much done. We can just finish it off. This is the stuff that I want. It can have a few caverns. I'll come back in 15 years because these are kind of inconsequential. That's a whole lot more goblins. So to destroy a goblin nest, okay, it's just gonna force more of them to rise up. That's kind of fine actually, but oh my god, that's so many. It's so many goblins. It doesn't actually seem to be that big of a deal because if you just kind of move everyone over, stand on the province, click one button, kind of takes care of itself. That was actually the last goblin nest. So on the other hand, considering this one thing that isn't done, you know, facing off against their biggest forces, maybe it's not that easy. It certainly is an interesting concept. Goblins that have kind of been biding their time in the deepest parts of the Serpent Spine, getting ready to try to rise up against this now expanding massive Dwarven empire. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head the way that some of these mechanics are going to work in EU5, but I'm pretty sure something like that would work really well for like a society of pups. Invading goblins in the capital combined with another event simultaneously, Nasty Tooth, one of the generals leading this army. A gigantic beast, a goblin who calls himself Nasty Tooth, has begun to assault our realm with a horde larger than anything seen yet. Yeah, that's 80,000 troops. We're gonna have to send in some reinforcements probably, or not. Never mind, it seems like we're fine. That was easy. The goblin tide does not seem to be that difficult, but it does give us some pretty insane benefits for 100 years. 10% infantry combat ability, 15% morale of armies, +1 yearly prestige, +1 monthly splendor, and -20% mill advisor cost. I figured we might as well clean up the Serpent's Veil here. Also, we'll get a free hold out of it, so why not? Literal breakthroughs. Remember how we were talking about that reality bending diamond? Well, turns out we've managed to recreate something similar. And of course, by slapping these diamonds onto the ends of drills, we're able to dig faster. We did do a little bit of damage to that one hold, but that's okay. Barely anyone was living there anyway. Capital is done being dug down to its 7th level. And if we wait a few months, we'll also get rid of this one modifier we don't want to have. There we go. 100 development in the capital. Let's start digging. Considering how much control we actually have over this end node here, I'm starting to think it would be worth it for us to just move our trade capital. I did save just in case it doesn't actually work out, but I think it will. It's like an extra 30 nuggets a month, so that's good. More goblins? Seriously? Alright. It did take a while for us to restore this hold, but we're finally done so we can finish off the ruler of all gems. We're basically just proclaiming ourselves the superior dwarves, and how we're gonna be like the cooler Aldorov that is gonna be ruled through the strength of the diamonds. So that's neat, I guess. Oh, that's a new thing. Okay, so we are proclaiming ourselves pretty much not Aldorov. We are creating a new empire with a centralized government instead of the way that the old Aldorov was, which was a little more decentralized, like a confederation of holds and stuff. So we actually get a name change. We change our name to something I really don't want to try to pronounce, but I'm going to anyway. Shatur Borstanov, or something like that. The rest of the game we get maximum absolutism, +1 Diplo relationship slot, and yearly legitimacy, as well as a couple of permanent claims. If we wanted to, we still could change ourselves to Aldorov, which makes me kind of regret the decision to not kick out the bloody gem earlier. Maybe it would have been more thematically appropriate to just be as salty as possible and not proclaim Aldorov. Kinda seems to be the theme. Hindsight's always 20/20, it doesn't matter. We have finished another mission though, which is I think completely optional for the fact that it really doesn't do that much. We sort of break down, loot the old capital, and then drag some of that back home. It gives us a small amount of development in the capital. Honestly, I don't think it's worth it as an event, but lore-wise, it's pretty funny, so I'm going to do it. Turns out I completely misread this. In order for us to be able to finish this mission, we need a dig level of 4. For some reason in my mind, that meant development of 40. It does not. It means something very different. It actually means that we need 60 development in this. Not only do we need 60 development, but in order to dig further in this hold, we need to centralize hold operations, which is kind of expensive, so I've been saving up a whole bunch of money so we can spend 12,500 rounds to do that. We also get a new button for our capital. Improve capital artisan infrastructure. Never actually done this one before, but it is rather expensive, so hopefully it pays off. Might as well clean these guys up. It's not like they're really doing anything. Just finished off trade ideas, so we're gonna pick our new policies. Obviously this one is free, so we'll go ahead and grab it. As for Diplo, we definitely want the trade power manpower and the goods produced. I think I can just live with having one less Diplo, it's not that bad. That puts us firmly in the #1 economy spot, surpassing the command, although not by a lot considering it's just the command, they do this every game. Through great effort, I've managed to convince Segdir to allow us to annex them. It won't take too long, only a couple of years. The main reason I do that is because we are going to have another mission that on the surface seems like it's going to be similar. We can either send them an insult or we can try to be friends. It's gonna take a little while to build up an additional 15 trust, but I don't think that would really be impossible. Either way, we do need to neighbor Verkalgulan or just take the capital, but I want to at least see what happens with the other option. Similarly, it's gonna be kind of weird how we're gonna do this interaction with Krakdumvror, because I'm supposed to mock them, and that's gonna make me instantly declare war on them with subjugation, so that's cool. It also says that they will, quote, fiercely resist. I don't know what that means in this case, but I guess we'll find out. I'm sorry, what? Strike the what, sorry? So let's insult our not even rivals, we just have to do this for fun, I guess. TLDR, we're basically just hyping ourselves up to invade them. That's kind of it. So we haven't declared war. And that's what you mean by them resisting. Oh, yeah, that's a lot of force limit, and yeah, that's a lot of, yeah, okay. The thing is, though, we didn't declare war. I don't know what happened. I don't think they have more than 350 development. We did like shave a lot off of them. They have just above 350, I see. And I don't get the subjugation. You know what? That's actually fine. I don't even care. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, why don't we build a dam? Sure. That's expensive, but it's not like I have much else to spend money on at the moment. It's not gonna be the nicest looking peace deal, but it gives me pretty much everything I want, including this one province over here, which is a level 3 center of trade. Something I just noticed, which is actually kind of funny, is that the orcs that used to rule this place actually did restore some of the irrigation pipelines in the east and west. Like, they couldn't develop anything, but they managed to repair like ancient pipeways. We can go ahead and repair some of it ourselves if we want to. Not that it really matters that much, I don't think. Finally, we reach our last reform, tier 11. Nothing particularly special here. I'll just go with the maximum absolutism and admin efficiency. It seems to me like we also just don't get claims on any of this stuff over here. And I think that's because we're supposed to use the subjugation CB we get against Kugdir, and then, like, you know, that's why we don't have claims. Problem is, Kugdir, of course, is allied to Gawed for some reason. So that's going to be at least a little bit annoying to fight. So we finished the first stage of the dam. I'm guessing this would be the second stage. Oh yeah, that's going to be another 12,500 crowns. Not really a big deal at this point. We make a lot of money. You know, I could just take this stuff manually. In fact, I really only need the one hold here. But I haven't had a lot of opportunities to fight death wars, and I'm a little bored, so why not start a war with the #3 great power? Radical reforms in 1648. Now, this is usually nice to have the earlier you get it, but okay, I'll take it. I do want to keep these advisors, though. Oh no. Hey there, buddy. Gosh, I love the command so much. Really, the only AI that I've ever seen keep pace with the player. Okay, we have managed to integrate our subject after all that time. Now, this guy doesn't really want our provinces anymore, so we can probably end up allying them, actually. You know, that was the whole point, to see if maybe they would submit, possibly. Manufactories and we didn't spawn it? Really? Alright, well, that's fine. Oh, no. Really not a good time for this, actually. I know exactly what this is. Dwarves with grayish skin, you say? That's not good. Boy, this is really not the time for that. Okay, we gotta go. We gotta go fast. So, that's the obsidian invasion, and it's gonna increase steadily, and we're gonna have to investigate a few things. I don't actually know what this disaster does. I know it spawns the obsidian legion in some location, maybe within your own borders, so I think it's best if we try to prevent as much damage as possible, starting with giving ourselves a stability to slow down the progress. And then, in each of these highlighted provinces, we're gonna have to drop 20,000 troops, which is really not that big of a deal. We just have to get it done. I was wondering why Gawa didn't really want to fight me that much, and then I realized because their armies just suck. So it's not much of a total war, but I don't think we want to stick around in this for too long. We have other things to worry about. Oh, Okay. So, we investigate the rumors and we find absolutely nothing. That's lovely. Okay, so out of curiosity, well, I guess there's no real way of knowing this. So I'm going to assume that all of these areas that have strange rumors, probably something bad's gonna happen to those areas. But if I investigate the rumors, maybe fewer bad things happen. I don't know. But at the very least, I'm going to want to protect my holds. Despite the brewing disaster, we do have one thing going on, and that is we finally managed to finish this mission. TLDR for this one, the Aegis doesn't only deal damage to, you know, the rock that you're trying to dig, it also creates a giant problem for the hold you're digging in, so in theory, if we study this hold, which we just upgraded, we should figure out a way to ward against ourselves, because of course the entire point of this horde was to ward off against the Fae in the north. For the most part, this just makes it more defensive. Oh yay, more absolutely nothing found in Ovdal Lodum. See, where else are we going to find nothing? I think the last thing I would want is to jeopardize my main holds. Like, we have some pretty limited time here, right? I think we're able to maybe investigate one per year on average, so we can't prevent all of them. But if it's going to spawn somewhere, I would probably prefer if it were over here, or maybe up here. In reality, I'm just guessing at how this whole thing works. You know, we have such an incredible amount of money, I might as well just embrace manufactories right now. There's nothing else I'm doing with all this cash. Now, this introduces Artificery, and we weren't particularly big about magic to begin with, so I think we're ready to just go like full Artificery. I can't really give a good explanation of Artificery because I don't really understand how it works myself ever since they reworked it. You get to pick between these three options though. The top one is they just research something random, but they're really fast at it, so every 5 years you get something that's like pretty random for the most part. On the other end, you get to pick exactly what you want to research, but it takes 15 years. And in the middle is kind of a balance. You get to pick, you know, the general category kind of, and it takes 10 years. I think I'm gonna go for the middle. To actually get started with Artificery, it's in our Decisions and Policy tab, and we just have to go ahead and research something. We do also start with a couple of Artificeries just from the beginning. So the way this works is we get a certain capacity for Artificery, you go into your Inventions menu, and then you get to pick some things that take up some of that capacity. So you can only have so many active inventions at a time. They each do different things, so for example, this one would give us 2% prestige decay and 1 max artificer privilege. This one at the bottom would give us a flat 7.5% morale damage and another max privilege. We have tiers, we have specific ones for cultures, we have some unique ones which I'm not actually sure how to make work. Minus 10% shock damage received is pretty nice. Oh boy, is that why? Really? At the same time, both Serpent's Rot and the Obsidian Legion? Surely that's not going to happen like at the same time, right? Surely having one fire would prevent the second stage or the second disaster, right? Surely? Yeah. So, Serpent Rot. If I remember correctly, this is literally just you going around and doing nothing, actually. Just waiting for events to fire, and that's kind of it. I mean, you can start research, I guess. That's true. Maybe we'll do that. Not sure if it mattered, but in that last event, I picked Focus on the Sick. Hopefully that was the right one. Probably good to try and figure out what actually is happening. And then we're gonna do a bunch of research, because we can't do anything until we get this thing done. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do instead? I'm gonna go to war to distract the people from the really bad stuff that's going on. Surely that's not going to cause any problems whatsoever. Okay, we know the source. It came from one of the mines. That's, you know, could have told you that probably. Not like it's gonna come from the outside of the Serpent Spine. See, that's funny, because I just spent a lot of money, actually, so if I need that much, I don't even think I can get it in loans, because our loans are decent, but our loans are like 4 months of income. But we might as well get started. Better to take out loans and get started now, and then pay them off later. Not gonna ask for much, I just want to kick them out of the Serpent Spine, that's kind of it. I will ask for max money though, because, you know, we do have to repay a couple loans now. Thank you. Oh, come on, man. I was just about to raise trust with them. And now, all of a sudden, wait, hold on a minute. You want my subjects' provinces? Oh, yeah, you know, the ones that are up here? These ones? Dude, what is wrong with you? Sometimes the AI is more than a little annoying. I blame this as more of an issue with just EU4, just as a game. There's no reason for them to be this aggressive over subject provinces when they wouldn't be this aggressive over my provinces. It's just a weird feature of the game that I've always disliked. But if that's the case, I guess we'll just have to insult them. That'll finish the mission. Oh, and what do you know? Okay, it does give us an event that just didn't tell us that. Alright. The lore for this is pretty much the same as it was for Segdir. We basically just have a right to invade them or own them, I guess. And it seems they've bought a truce. That's not what I thought this would do, but okay, I could definitely use the money at the moment, I guess. It is only a 5-year truce. We'll come back eventually. After all, we do need to take all of these provinces. I'd rather lose the stability because we can get it back pretty easily. Not a big fan of taking out more loans though. I have such mixed feelings right now about the things that are happening. On one hand, it's like, yeah, probably the worst disaster I'm gonna ever have in any EU4 campaign. On the other hand, hey, artisan infrastructure, that's cool. We managed to make a wonder, the Ornatorium. It does make it a pretty impressive province, and it also allows us to continue digging. And we kind of do have to, considering we need a dig level of 10, and we're only at 8, so let's keep going. Again, I'm just gonna try and lose as little money as possible. Stability is something we can get pretty easily. Okay, so 3 more months until the Obsidian invasion. We still have Serpent's Rot. The economy's not looking too hot. Yeah, we're having a great time. We're having a great time. Oh, and bat flu. That's a familiar one, huh? So how bad could this whole Obsidian invasion thing actually be? Ooh, that's pretty bad. Oh god, that's pretty bad. So I was kind of right about how they spawn, at least. That's cool. So the Obsidian invasion. These are the Obsidian dwarves, right? They claim that their people were wrongly exiled to the depths deeper than we could ever imagine by the kings of ancient Al-Dwarov, and now they have risen to the surface to reclaim what is rightfully theirs. So I think the Obsidian Legion is supposed to spawn earlier than it did, or at least it's not supposed to spawn this late, because when you look at the actual Legion itself, it's not even that strong. I mean, certainly this would be a menace in the early game, but right now it's kind of like half our strength. I don't know. You could decide to play as them if you wanted to. Not really sure what the benefits of that would be, although they do have their own religion, the Runefather worship. That's like way back in the ancient times kind of worship. I'm not entirely sure why the Obsidian Legion waited until there was a new Dwarven Empire. They probably could have just like risen up as soon as the Green Tide happened. But hey, I'm not here to judge, you know, it took us a few thousand years to actually decide to open the doors. What's an extra 200 really? Anyway, yeah, we just have to fight them. I think that's kind of it, actually. It sucks to have this at the same time as Serpent Rod though, just really unlucky. Or maybe it's intentional, and in that case, absolute cinema, good job. Does kind of suck that they have taken Amaldir because this is my trade capital. So my trade's gonna get really messed up. Like, yeah, the income is really bad right now. So let's try to make this quick. Oh, also, I did something pretty intentional here because I had a feeling that they would spawn with our technology. That would make the most sense. So I actually decided to hold off on taking this next military tech just so that I would get the tactics advantage, you know, in case it was too bad to fight. But with that, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a breeze to fight these guys. We're just gonna keep on hemorrhaging cash, pumping everything we can into fixing the Serpent Rod as well. It's gonna be a hell of a recovery period, but I think we'll be okay. Beautiful. Perfect. No notes. We're 25,000 ducats in debt. I do have to appreciate, though, having some kind of challenge at a point where I would otherwise be so snowbally I would get bored. If nothing else, it keeps it interesting. Remedy for the rot? I have no idea. Dragon's Tongue. Sure, that sounds cool. Vibes-based cure. Bringing it back medieval style. Alright, I think that is the last unit of the Obsidian Legion. They are completely gone now, and not a single province would allow them to recruit more people. So the war is pretty much done. With that last province, they have been 100%ed, which is necessary to end this war, specifically because their war enthusiasm will always be high. As mentioned previously, we have to use the Obsidian War peace deal in order to annihilate them completely and reclaim all of our provinces. There we go. Okay, Obsidian Legion, I'll give that like maybe a 7 or 8. Interesting disaster, lets you play as the other country. Generally not too difficult, but you know, results may vary given on the skill of the player, of course. We do unfortunately have to go and restate everything and move our trade capital back to recover our economy. Probably the most annoying part, but at the very least we gain 2 stability at the end, which isn't really going to mean much for us. 50 prestige, which again again, doesn't actually mean that much for us. But we do get infantry combat ability and morale of armies and a free military policy, which is kind of nice. And we do get it for 100 years, so pretty solid stuff. It didn't take too long for the serpent rot to disappear, and we've managed to make not just a full economic recovery, actually, but we managed to improve it past what it was previously. So we can actually take economic hegemony, and we should. There's really no reason not to. And now that things are looking a little more stable in this situation as well, we should get started. Should end up being a relatively quick and easy battle if they stop running away, please. In the background, I've also been improving the Dwarovkron rails. Really just makes it cheaper to develop, gives us a little more trade power, a little more supply limit, and we move significantly faster. From our friends, the Gold Dwarves, I'm gonna take everything that actually matters, including both their holds and a little connection over here so I can get started on Ovdal-Khanzad. We'll come back in 15 years and grab everything else. Since we now actually have a bit of money to spend on stuff, we can start finishing off these 3 missions. Not much to say about this one, just basically improving the defensiveness of this one hold. We have a similar mission for this hold over here. We're basically gonna turn it into like the military hold, using magma to fuel our forges and produce more steel than ever before. And apparently obsidian glass has anti-magic properties, so what do you know? That gives us a global production efficiency of 20% for the next 20 years, very nice. This last one's gonna take a little longer. I knew it was coming. I knew this guy had to die at some point. He's 196 years old, but I am at least glad that he lived through the entirety of both major disasters and managed to live through them to see the empire become a hegemony. So I'd say he did a pretty good job, considering I think this is actually the second ruler we've had still. Yeah, there's literally the first one that we had, and this guy's been ruling since 1490. In his place, we get the next High King, who is, you know, not really that good. Oh, and what do you know? We immediately get to pick a successor. That's gonna be a 453. At the age of 20 as well, they could last the entire rest of the campaign. Now this last one on the left is a little bit more interesting. The idea behind this is, no matter how long it takes, eventually the Serpent Spine will run out of things to mine. You know, especially diamonds, you know, the thing that we do. Even if it takes centuries, it'll eventually happen. So the idea is, well, what if we make artificial diamonds? Can't possibly run out of those if you just make them. All it really does is change this one province to produce gems instead of glass, and I don't know, that seems like that would be a downgrade, although I can't use this as a benchmark because we got Dames here from an event. Yeah, gems are 3 ducats, and glass is 420, so kind of a downgrade, but oh well. We still have one more mission that we've already completed, this one for Ovdal Lodum. If you remember back in the first video, we kind of had to force these guys to join our empire, but after so long they kind of like us a little bit. Now we're gonna try to make them like us more, I guess, by doing like big excavation projects for them. Who knows what this leads to. We never did finish building that dam, so I guess we should get to it. I never did get around to buying the agate gem either. Currently, the Azra Bank owns it, and I think that's these guys, maybe? I don't actually remember, but we can just buy it back. Thank you. That means to reforge the Dwarovkron, we're only missing one piece, which happens to be over here. We all knew eventually our paths would cross with the command at some point. It's not going to be pretty, but we are going to have to fight them one day. Our new Artificery privilege is ready for use. Really just 15% trade steering, nothing crazy. Well, isn't that nice? This is the result of that one mission that we completed earlier. It allows us to change the hold infrastructure in Ovdal Lodum to military, and I think that's actually a good idea. Right now, as artisanry, sure, it gives us more money, but also it's not like we're exactly lacking money at the moment. We will eventually need to establish complete hegemony over the dwarves, so we have to go and invade these guys too. Turns out we finished this mission a little bit faster than I thought we would. I thought we'd have to go and invade these guys as well, because these guys are also dwarves that are like barely holding on. But we finished this off. We get to incorporate some of the artillery expertise of these guys, but in reality we just get permaclaims and that's kind of it. We can't allow any dwarves to survive, so unfortunately Kragdumvror, I'll have to put you out of your misery. For the last idea group of today, it would make a lot of sense for us to pick up a military one, especially quality and especially considering the way things are going to be going down pretty soon. Apparently the Great Dam has more than 3 levels, so here's number 4, who knows how many there actually are. We all kinda knew that this war was coming. After all, for us to reclaim the last gem in the Dwarovkron, we need to take it from one of their marches, the Jade March. Not to mention, we should probably grab these provinces as well, even though I guess in theory we could vassalize them. Though I don't see the command giving us access or giving them access, so that probably wouldn't work either. Now as you can see, I've been preparing pretty extensively extensively. I've thrown a whole bunch of artificers into the army. We have 124 regiments. They are a special unit that gives us plus 0.15 infantry fire, which is actually pretty sizable when you consider the amount that we have. The command does have 1 million troops and 200,000 manpower, while we have 600,000 troops and 761,000 manpower. We get 6,000 per month. They gain 8,000 per month. After all, they did take quantity ideas. And unlike the Ottomans, from my experience with the command, they are not a paper tiger. This is probably going to be a slog to get through, but it's gonna be worth it. We'll go for this hold, we'll try to keep it, and we might just have to sit back and defend, to be honest. The command is no joke. Oh, hello there. I was gonna say, oh, maybe we wanna, pop out, just see where the enemy is. Hello there. Yeah, please don't fight me. God, please. 230,000 troops. They've already lost 100,000 to attrition, by the way. Remember, sure, they might have like an insane number of buffs, but it is still the AI. It's gonna do what the AI does, no matter how many buffs you give it. Not really much you can do about that. It's fine. Yeah, I had a pretty bad feeling about that one. Fortunately, we can still move, but it's just not a great position to be in, especially after barraging it. Right, should have expected them to want to fight on the favorable terrain here. It's a bit risky, but we might be able to just like reinforce them. Who knows? Maybe it'll work. Before I do that though, I would like to grab this, reduce the morale damage we receive for the rest of the war. Remember, if you're fighting somebody with numerical supremacy, you just have to make sure that you reinforce properly. If you do that, you can win most battles. Alright, they're coming in to fight. Probably not gonna be a good one. Okay, it turned out pretty alright. Okay, I guess we're going right back in. The battles that you can have in Anbennar are insane. And this is only 1680. I can't imagine what like multiplayer wars are like in this. 3 million manpower for 1720 or something. All that for a single hold. This should be a much easier battle considering 1, no general, plus it's advantageous for us. See, one of the benefits about making such a ridiculous amount of money is that I decided it would be a good idea to increase the army size just by a little bit. So we now have 750,000 troops, and yeah, okay, we are spending an additional 400 ducats per month on this force limit, but see, that's the advantage, is that we can do that, while the command, well, they just have an enormous force limit to begin with. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. But they don't make as much money, so that's too bad for them. I've been trying to spare you guys the details of this absolute slog of a war that's been going on, but I will let you know that it's going pretty well. They have nearly double the casualties taken. They are down to below 1 million men. Wow, isn't that great? It's gonna take another little while. Ooh, perfect. We just got a new artificer privilege, which I've been waiting on with bated breath because our artificers will get an additional 10% infantry combat ability. That's about 20% of our army. And I am playing a little risky. I'm gonna pop out, see if I can grab that fort, if I can do anything else with it. I was just about to say, we've been doing pretty well in the south, picking up quite a few forts down here, making some gains towards their capital, which is important because we need to take their capital if we plan to take the gem. But yeah, that's 350,000 men. A lot of hobgoblins. Still gonna hold my ground though, because I know that I have this scorch and it's gonna take them quite a while to get there. Maybe against my better judgment, but who knows. Turned out to actually be a pretty productive battle. The enemy lost around 30,000 more men than we did. We've brought them down to low war enthusiasm. They're well below 1 million men and do not have that much manpower in reserve. We really just need to take the capital so we can take the gem, and then hopefully that'll be enough war score to take this alongside it. It is really tense, this final battle here, or what looks like it's going to be the final battle. We are bringing the artificers in though. I think maybe just by pure morale difference, we might be able to eke out a small victory. Well, any victory from a battle this large is more than just a small victory. Yeah, not the greatest outcome necessarily. We did lose pretty even numbers. Given the size of the armies that entered into this battle, I think I can live with that actually. We really cannot afford to keep on fighting this war. I'd say we've kind of proven our point. 2.5 million people dead for this. Yep, it was worth it. That's the last gem. Oh, and of course they lose their hegemony. You can't proclaim yourself the military hegemony and then lose a war. That's just embarrassing. Since we have every part of the Dwarovkron, we can finally reforge it. All 7 gems have finally been recollected and the crown reforged. We get a stability, 30 prestige, which will give us a little bit of splendor. Unfortunately, that's not very helpful either. But we do get what I can only assume is a combination of all of the powers of each gem combined. combined and then maybe multiplied by 2. The only thing left to do at this point is declare war on these guys. Third last mission. The lore for this one is that we plan to incorporate the other holds a little bit closer by creating a gleaming council. We may be the best of all dwarves, but that doesn't mean that the other dwarves are without merit. It might be helpful to learn from their experiences, and also by listening to their demands for representation, we can actually tighten our grip over them. In practice, this means we get 30 power projection, probably not permanent, and the new government reform, which gives us additional monthly luster, plus 1 admin-free policy, and a little bit of reduced yearly corruption. If we want to, we could also sell titles to a specific estate. Why we would do that at this point is, well, you know, just for fun, I guess. Unfortunately, I kind of glossed over this event because I was waiting for something else to finish so I could actually finish the run, but we did finish building the Hul-Jorkad dam. In the end, after, what was that, 48,000 or was it 60,000 ducats? I don't remember. Well, we get the dam, which gives us 10 local trade power, 20% production efficiency, and yearly prestige. Production efficiency is actually global though, not local, so that is pretty good. We just finished excavating our hold down to level 10. It's going to give us 50 prestige. That'll go into, well, you know, Blender. We almost have 10,000, but anyway. We also get 50 admin, and most importantly, once I have enough manpower, because that's something I didn't really think about, we should be able to finish this. We're down to the second last mission, challenging Halan. Not exactly sure who Halan is. I'm definitely missing some kind of lore on that if somebody wants to help enlighten me. If I had to guess, likely some kind of Dwarven goddess, maybe. TLDR for this mission is basically we're really cool. We lose 3,000 ducats and 50 luster to get an event. We lose a lot of manpower doing this, but we essentially just like fire a bunch of artillery. We use that to blast into bedrock to go deeper and deeper than ever before. Unfortunately, that event is going to take like 4 or 5 years to actually have happen, so we're going to be here for a little bit, and it's done. So some absolutely insane stuff going on here. I'm really glad I waited for this. A ruler descends towards the dig site. Literal magma just coming out of the ground at that point. Willing to sacrifice everything, using the Aegis to be able to dig deeper, I guess. The crown jewel is used as a focus for 10,000 wizards and rune carvers, each shining their mana into its event horizon. From the diadem of, I'm not even gonna try, luster emerges. The world reacts and the floor gives way. We've conquered reality. What is this? No, literally, we're at dig level 11. I didn't even think that was possible. And it isn't supposed to be possible. We gain 100 prestige, gets turned into 100 of each monarch power. Our ruler loses 2 of each stat, and we get a level 11 hold. Huh. I can't even imagine what that actually looks like. But through the power of Anbennar's weirdness alone, we now have our 150 development level 11 hold. Strange rumors and occurrences happen at the deepest levels of the hold, for it is said that the line between the material plane and the infernal, also known as the abyss, is so very thin here. I don't even want to know. Anyway, if you hadn't noticed, the hold itself produces 200 ducats of value, so that's kind of cool. It is quite literally responsible for a 10th of our economy, so that's neat. And to end it all off, I made sure we got that event out of the way first, but we do have one last mission. We have a monopoly on gems, on brilliance, and on reality. We have conquered the dwarves, the serpent spine, and most importantly of all, the gleaming council. We live in a prosperity hewn from stone and holds, and we dig deeper than any dwarf has ever dug. Nothing is out of our reach. It is time to proclaim our final hegemony. Down with the empires of old, no matter where they might be. Up with Chateau Orstanov, the gleaming gem home. There's a little more to read if you want to pause and do that. It's a little too wordy to read it all in a YouTube video. It kind of keeps in line with a lot of the Anbennar final missions where you have usually the ruler is like the main character and they just kind of reflect on everything that's happened over the course of the tree and all that. And our final reward is 15% fort defense, 25% max effect of absolutism, and +1 monthly luster. The Age of Diamonds is finally here. And that's it. That's the entirety of the Arg-Ordston tree. In a video I never thought I was going to get this far in. And probably neither did any of my editors, because I know full well that this is at least 12 to 13 hours of footage. I can't possibly imagine how long this video is going to be, but if you managed to make it to the end here, I want to say thank you for actually sticking with it towards the end. It was a bit of a gamble deciding to make a part 2 for a video that did really well, especially a part 2 that's this, you know, long. So if you did enjoy the video, I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave a like, and if you're new here, you know, you just watched a whole... I can only imagine this is going to be at least like 45 minutes to maybe an hour. If you want to go ahead and subscribe, I'd really appreciate that as well. Other than that, no notes, absolute cinema, amazing mission tree, always looking for more suggestions on which countries to cover next in Anbennar, because this is just one of many dwarves even. A single mission tree. Of course, we'd be going through something similar if we played dwarves again. We'd have the hoardcurse, we would have the obsidian legion, but we'd get some fresh mechanics to play with, maybe a different style for the dwarves. We relied heavily on infantry, but I know some dwarves have some decent cavalry, some other dwarves have some really good artillery, some dwarves are near the command and have to fight for their lives pretty early on, some other dwarves are super far away and isolated, not really having to deal with too much, and some aren't even in the serpent spine. But I think we're kind of dwarfed out for today. So if anything, I'd appreciate some suggestions for some other fantasy races. You know, I haven't made a video for elves yet. Anyway, for now, this is Corbett signing off. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, have a fantastic day. Shout out to all the patrons for this month. These people not only help make the channel possible, but also receive early access to videos. So a big thanks to Erica, Baby Cal, Born to Dunk, The Quebecer, Nick Steffel, Hubert, AG Forero, Ben Mottram, Quiet Guy, Rosset, Torvald, Ambient Cyan, James Levy, Luke78776, White Rook, and Robert.